Well, we all know that he doesn't sleep. I'm not a big sleeper either. So, I, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long. I admit it.
Donald Trump's deteriorating health situation is of serious concern to Republicans. For Republicans, both the House and the Senate and just Republican insiders in general. And the reason I know is because of all of the noise they're making, trying to justify his sleeping in meetings for minutes and minutes at a time, either explaining it away or trying to justify it, or acting as though it's not happening. And the more aggressively they kick against reality means there is something going on. There is a swirling tempest inside the Republican Party of concern about exactly what is taking place. Because without Donald Trump, is there really even a Republican Party? Yesterday, Senator from Kansas, Roger Marshall, went on Newsmax to tip this entire thing off. And I've got several clips here of just from yesterday and then one from last week. But just from yesterday of the Republican Party, the machinery, the propaganda machine, standing up an operation to try to justify Donald Trump's clear cognition problem, but also the physicality issue of him just being unable to stay awake after having called Joe Biden Sleepy Joe for years. Here we are with sleepy Donald Trump, and the Republican Party just doesn't know which way to turn. Here is Roger Marshall on Newsmax.
Get your reaction to this. The president's recent reveal that he received a cardiac MRI during his checkup at Walter Reed. Now, the legacy media, immediately jumped to question his health. I'm an older guy. My doctor ordered me to get an MRI, a cardiac MRI. I still haven't done it yet, so I need to get on that. But it's standard practice. To me, they ignored Joe Biden for years, and now they are just grasping at straws. Can you kind of shed some light on this? This is really normal, isn't it, for older guys?
I think it's a normal executive level type of checkup. If you went to the best wellness centers in the country, they're going to order that on people probably over the age of 65. And by the way, we all have some atherosclerosis already starting to build up, some aging process, just like you would see arthritis in the joints. But I can tell you, my interactions with the president, I'm a pretty hard worker. I'll work 100, 110 hours a week. He outworks me. He's the first person I've ever known that works harder than I do. He runs around that golf course. He goes through staff members, several groups of them each day. He's in incredible shape right now, and you talk about sharp. He's playing four-dimensional chess right now, with time being that fourth dimension. He's in great shape. I've
always joked, Senator, that President Trump's the only person I know that's more likely to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning than he is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's Kansas Senator Roger Marshall.
No doubt. We're on Trump time now.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What is with these just weird liars? Roger Marshall this is an aside, but Roger Marshall would have you believe that he works 110 hours per week. And Donald Trump works even more. I'm a pretty hard worker, he says. I'll work 110 hours a week. He outworks me. Roger Marshall, f*** off. You don't work 110 hours a week. You're a United States Senator who doesn't work weekends, for one. Secondly, if you were to work, let's just take it on the face of it, you weird liar, and say you did work 110 hours a week. On a 5-day work week, we know you don't work on the weekends. That would mean you're working 22 hours a day. 16 and a third hours a day if it was a 6-day work week. And if it was a 7-day work week, I did the math, by the way, because I am terrible at math. 15 and 3/4 hours, 7-day work week. But we know you work 5 days, so you're saying you work 22 hours a day, and Donald Trump works more than you. He's the first person I've ever known that works harder than I do. He runs around that golf course. He carts around the golf course, sir. He goes through staff members, several groups of them a day. He's in incredible shape right now. And you talk about sharp. He's playing four-dimensional chess right now. The more bold the lie and the tale, that's where the rub is. That's how you know just how concerned they are. When they are unconcerned with looking like fools in their desperate attempt to justify Donald Trump, it tells you everything you need to know. Laura Ingraham did the same thing. Roger Marshall, I believe, is a physician, by the way, as scary as that is. Laura Ingraham on her show had the Mark Siegel or whatever his name is. He just wrote a book about how wonderful Trump is. He's a physician also. She had him on to talk about it. And again, they just papered over all of the problems that we see, those of us who view the world through a reality lens, and they do not.
Well, we all know that he doesn't sleep. I'm not a big sleeper either. So, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long. I admit it. But big deal. I mean, the results speak for themselves. What President Trump does on a daily basis. If you sleep 3 hours or 4 hours a night, you're probably going to close your eyes, whether you're 79 or 49. I don't think that matters.
Yeah, President Trump, Thomas Edison believed in the 10-minute nap, by the way. What would they say? We wouldn't have electricity, right?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Dr. Siegel, we will continue to see them fixate on this after everything they did to cover for Joe.
All right. Aside from the electricity idiocy, we wouldn't have electricity if not for Thomas. Do you think Thomas Edison invented electricity? You think he invented electricity? Donald Trump's not just closing his eyes for a short period, just like a couple of seconds. It's not like a long blink, Laura Ingraham, and you know that. I've got a clip I'm going to play in a later topic where Marco Rubio is talking to Donald Trump, gesturing to Donald Trump. That's a minute and a half long almost, and Donald Trump is asleep the entire time. It's not a micro nap of 5 seconds. It's not a long blink. Come on. Well, you will not be surprised to learn that Jesse Waters, the pencil-necked, sausage-armed alpha man, he also has some things to say about Donald Trump sleeping. And it's not reality-based. It is not rational. It is not reasonable. It is not dealing with reality on reality's terms, as you would expect with ass kiss. We'll keep it PG. I'm getting too many emails about, all right, keep it together with all the crassness. So, I'll try. Here's Jesse Waters, the man who still has not taken me up on my challenge to he and Stephen Miller to have me box both of them at the same time in a charity boxing match. No surprise there. Here's Jesse Waters.
Biden called a lid by one every day. Trump's working 12-hour shifts. The Oval Office logs show that he clocked in 50-hour work weeks last month. It's more than Greg. And he still had time to post 160 times last night. How does he sleep? The sweet sounds of pile drivers are driving Melania crazy.
How does he sleep? I think we know how he sleeps, comfortably and well during meetings in the middle of the day. We know how he sleeps. And then there's this, I will remind you, this is from last week, where the Fox anchor not only talks about Donald Trump being a machine, but also that he never sleeps.
The New York Times claiming that he's slowed down and he's showing signs of fatigue. Americans see Mr. Trump less than they used to. He has fewer public events on his schedule and is traveling domestically much less than he did by this point during his first year in office, although he is taking more foreign trips. He also keeps a shorter public schedule than he used to. Most of his public appearances fall between noon and 5 p.m. on average. Well, the man is almost 80, but he's also a machine. I mean, he barely sleeps, he works around the clock, and he constantly talks to the press. And meanwhile, Biden always slept, worked sometimes, and never talked to the press unless they're asking him about ice cream flavors. But some people are still living in opposite world when it comes to these two presidents.
President Biden was active on the weekends, especially riding his bike in Rehoboth Beach. No one denied that with President Biden, that he had his moments of being 80 or 82, whatever it was. In this case, the White House is not willing to even acknowledge that the president is showing obvious signs of age-related decline. One, he might take trips out overseas in Air Force One. That doesn't substitute for the lack of physical activity. There's a reason to be worried based on his public performance.
Well, Biden also fell off that stationary bike. So here to discuss it is Clay Travis, Outkick founder and Fox News contributor.
And as I talked about yesterday, as I demonstrated just the other day with images and video of Donald Trump with his droopy stroke mouth and falling asleep while people are talking to him in meetings, including Dr. Oz, we know this is not the case. So Republicans, they are, I would say, up in arms, but they are alarmed within themselves in private meetings. To be sure, they're talking about contingency plans. What happens when Jesse Dollemore is right and Donald Trump drops dead within the next year? I mean, he's already dropping dead momentarily during meetings. It's only a matter of time until we wake up to breaking news headlines all over the world that Donald Trump is no longer with us. And they need a plan for that. Who's it going to be? I mean, obviously, through continuity, through the 25th Amendment, it will be J.D. Vance. But what are they going to do going forward into the future relative to their party? Because Donald Trump is, as I've said, he is the party. He is the Republican Party. The base is going to lose interest without a Trump. They're going to lose interest without the guy who's tweeting on his Truth Social platform hundreds of times in the middle of the night like a deranged lunatic. The drama will be over. The NASCARization of the Republican Party will be complete, and they won't have a leader. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage.
The other remarkable moment from yesterday's cabinet meeting, that is like every other cabinet meeting where they go around the horn and kiss Donald Trump's ass in succession. It's almost like a competition to see who can pucker up the tightest and really attach and affix their lips to the asshole of Donald Trump. Yesterday, Donald Trump put on a display of racism, the likes of which, to use Donald Trump terms, we really haven't witnessed from him publicly in quite a while. He just jettisoned himself, just propelled himself into an attack on Ilhan Omar with vile racism about her being garbage and all her friends being garbage, and that the country, her country stinks. Her country, being a citizen of the United States, is America for that matter. But I want to talk about this. And so I brought in an expert on dealing with the assholery of Donald Trump, the logical leftist, none other than Mr. Jeff Waldorf. Jeff, thanks for joining me today.
Hello there. Thank you for inviting me to.
Yeah, listen, I figured you could share the load of the excrement that is coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, so I don't have to bear it alone.
Big one.
Did you watch this yesterday?
I did.
Were you, sir, surprised by this?
Let's just say I was not having Pikachu face over it.
I don't know what that means, but let's move on. Well, I do talk about this a lot, that the people who, Adam Johnson wrote a piece, the title of which I think is the tyranny of the not surprised guy. Being a YouTuber yourself with a YouTube channel, again, the logical leftist, you probably have seen this response from people where they say, well, is anybody surprised by this? Why are you surprised? As though we need to be surprised by something to talk about something that is important. Mm-hmm. I maintain we should hold on to our outrage, onto our shock about things that are not surprising. And this is one of those moments. He got differently aggressive and racist publicly than he normally does. And I think this can be chalked up to his declining mental state, to his declining physical state, that he's regressing back to the most comfortable position that he can hold, and that is vile, venomous, vitriolic racism. Let's start with the first clip, and then we will move from there, and I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country.
First of all, nobody said that's not politically correct. Like, he's using language from the 90s. What's your beat on this, Jeff?
Well, first, I want to go back to what you were saying about surprise and, shock and outrage. And I think those are not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? But at the same time, it's like, even though I'm not surprised at the just amount of vitriolic racism that spews forth from his tiny, purse little butthole mouth, okay?
It is a purse little butthole mouth, too.
Yes, because that's what it looks like, Okay, but anyway, I'm sorry to subject your audience to that as well. But
no, they're used to
again,
it. They
if you
listen
already
to me all
sat
the
through a
time.
Trump clip, then you know what's coming.
Yeah.
But the outrage is there. I mean, he is denigrating Ilhan Omar, who is absolutely a brilliant congresswoman, very, very strong, very social justice motivated, which is probably why she, he hates her. One of the reasons, other reason, of course, is that she is black. Let's be honest with that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we got the racism angle, which is just absolutely disgusting. But let's go to the arguments that he made, about the Somalians, the Somali refugees in Minnesota, because he's absolutely wrong about all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally wrong. Again, most of the people that are there are either citizens, permanent residents, or hold other, legal status. And so none of them are, because that he's going to go to the undocumented angle as well. I mean, it's always in the subtext, right? They don't belong here.
Right.
They're either illegal or Trump's going to do something to make them illegal, which he is already in the process, I believe, of doing, if not having already done, taking away, refugee and protected status from Somali migrants. But again, all of what he says is absolutely wrong. I know that right-wing media is obsessed with you see, they're doing fraud, welfare fraud, pandemic relief fraud, which is funny because you had a lot of right-wingers and big companies involved in, what is it? Paycheck protection fraud. Didn't have to pay back any of it. Used all that money and then, fired people and then juiced their own stock portfolios from it by buying back their own stocks. So, I mean, there's all sorts of fraud there. And it ain't Somali migrants that have done that. Okay. And of course, the other thing is, the other claim here is that, they're funding terror networks. Like they're funding Al-Shabaab. No, they're not. They're sending money back to their families. And that's the thing. You have to have money to send back to your family, right? And you know what? Somali migrants, these refugees, they have been getting into white collar jobs, making good money, becoming teachers, becoming business owners, helping the economy. I remember talking about, and I know this is different, a different group of people, Haitians in Springfield, Ohio.
Right. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs, the pets of the people who live there. Yeah.
Which they're not.
Of course they weren't.
And but what they actually did is when they went into Springfield, they revitalized the area. They revitalized the economy.
Local leaders said as much.
Yeah. They raised wages. They spurred on the building of new homes. And yes, of course, there's negative effects in that as well. Like, how home prices went up, and some people complained about that. That's what happens when you grow an economy, that sometimes, especially in our country, our economy tends to leave some people behind. Okay. But overall, in Springfield, the Haitian community helped greatly.
Yeah, what I notice here so stark is just the projection of this. Like, he's claiming that he's watched her complain about the Constitution, the same Constitution that he has said on True Social he has every right to cancel, to terminate all rules and articles up to and including the Constitution of the United States. He says she hates the country. This coming from a guy who says that the people of Ohio are stupid. We're stupid. Our leaders are. He constantly denigrates the United States. I've never heard, by the way, her ever complain about the Constitution. I've never heard her complain about how unfairly she's treated. I have heard Donald Trump complain about how unfairly he's treated constantly, about how bad America is, how stupid Americans are. And then for him to say that she hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. The biggest hater in American politics today is, in fact, Donald Trump. And I think that's self-evident even for MAGA. The other thing, and then I want to move on to the second clip, is that they ripped off Somali. They ripped off the Somali. They ripped off the state for billions of dollars. Donald Trump is currently undergoing the largest grift in American history from the Oval Office of the White House, getting hundreds of millions of dollars worth of planes from Qatar and having his crypto nonsense completely funded by foreign nations in violation of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, which he claims to love and she hates, I guess. It just, none of it rings in with a reality lens at all.
Right.
Go ahead.
Add, too, that he is, and you said, too, he's violating the Emoluments Clause. He also is violating people's due process.
Yeah.
Okay. Ordering the violation of due process and also going after people, attacking service members, congressmen who say to the military, hey, don't follow illegal orders, because that's what you're not supposed to follow illegal orders. So don't do it. Do your job. Follow the Constitution, follow the laws of the land. But Trump doesn't believe in the laws of this country. He does not believe in this country at all. He believes that everything serves him and him alone.
He has said as much to Janet Mills, the mayor or the governor of Maine, that he is the law. He thinks he is the law. So let's get to the second clip. It kind of shifted. I broke it up into two parts because the first part mainly dealt with denigrating through racism Ilhan Omar. And the second really is more pouring hate and racism on the Somali community in general.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Chief Bitch explaining about bitching is rich. Let me say this relative to the tipping point. It is always amazing to me that Donald Trump has, on day one, our country's going to be great again. We were a dead country. Now we're hot as a pistol, he says. How tenuous is Donald Trump's solution to making America great again? How tenuous is it? How weak is America that we're at a tipping point still after a year almost of Donald Trump having made the country great? It doesn't line up. And then you can tell he's just rambling and meandering because he fucked up and said, they come from paradise after he had just said their country stinks and it's garbage. It's just, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just reverting and regressing to the most comfortable position for him, which is out and out anti-black racism. What do you think?
Exactly. Look, the contradictions there are just amazing. But whenever you hear this man speak, it's nothing but BS and contradictions. And so, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but not surprising to hear him say stuff like this. Yeah, I'm totally going to be that guy. But at the same time,
you be you, Jeff. You be you.
Everything he says is just wrong.
Yeah.
It's just flat out wrong. I want to go back to a point where he said, oh, they don't add anything to our country. In 2015, over 181,000 refugee entrepreneurs generated by creating businesses $4.6 billion in business income. Yes. Do they send some money back to people in Somali? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And by the way, that's not fraudulent. You're allowed to do that. But they also spend a lot of that money here.
Of course they do. They have to live. They have to pay rent. They have to buy groceries. It is absolutely a boost to the United States economy in a way that we do feel the deleterious effects of through the deportation process, through people not being able to go to work because they're afraid of being deported. Businesses are hurt by that. And by extension, so is the economy. You're right.
Right. And look, the fraud stuff, right? We got Chief Fraudster talking about how people are doing fraud. All right. That's the irony there. Okay. But the reality is, just like Trump being chief fraudster, the people that are doing the fraud are U.S. citizens, not Somali refugees. The majority. Yes, dozens of people were charged in these fraud cases in Minnesota, right? But again, they're not all Somali refugees. In fact, and the terrorism thing, federal prosecutors didn't bring any terrorism financing charges in any of those fraud cases. There is a lack of evidence that any of the money was used by terror organizations like Al-Shabaab. So,
well, listen, if they had evidence of it, they would certainly bring that evidence to the public because it would be the drum that they'd be banging on Fox News 24/7. It absolutely did not happen. The other thing that I did want to mention before we end here is at the very end of the meeting when he says, thank you very much, and he gets up, right before that, someone was like applauding him by pounding the table like, yes, they are garbage. We don't want them in our country. This is not an isolated incident of some unhinged opinion that is only shared by Donald Trump.
Right.
This room is filled to the brim with white nationalists and people who want a white ethno state in the United States. The one black face in the entire room, Scott Turner, who happens to be, again, the HUD administrator, is not some kind of an accident. It's by design that he has his Christian nationalist defense secretary sitting next to him, and then his bootlicker, Cuban migrant or son of Cuban migrants, Marco Rubio, next to him. Either it's just it's just a continuation of the grossness. Put a fine point on it, and then I want you to talk about where people can find you, Jeff.
Well, let me just say that address that point that you made about some of his cabinet people being slightly diverse, they're tokens. Okay. They're shields. What happens to tokens? They eventually get spent. Okay. And that's what's going to happen in this situation. Okay. Because as he is going after people like Ilhan Omar for being black, basically, because there's no substance to any of the arguments that he had made against her. Okay.
Well, they all apply to him. The only substance is if they turned around those accusations against him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, look, what we have here today, at the end of the day, is a cabinet meeting filled with white nationalists and racists, with Trump saying the most racist garbage stuff that isn't true, to rile up his base, to rile people up, to get them to, I don't know, turn out and to really just show up for him.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all that it comes down to. You show up for me, because that's the only thing that's currently driving the Republican Party at this point. It is a cult of personality. It is a racist death cult of personality, but that's all it really is. And so, once again, it's not a surprise to see Trump going off and basically doing the thing that is most comfortable to him, which is to be a racist garbage person.
That right there is the fine point that we will end on. I would encourage everybody in the audience, if you're not already subscribed to Jeff, go find him on YouTube, find him on Blue Sky, and support his work. Independent media, very, very important. While the corporate media and mainstream media is asleep at the wheel, enabling Donald Trump, it's people like Jeff Waldorf who do a solid job in this space and need to be signal boosted, lifted up. So I appreciate you being here today, Jeff. Where else can people find you?
I think you pretty much nailed it all. I mean, I'm on Instagram as well.
All right.
Jeff Waldorf. And on Facebook as well. Facebook.com/Jeff Waldorf Show. You can see me post, fun, I guess, memes or whatever. And so, check that out. Follow me on the different platforms and check out my work, become a subscriber, and, support other independent progressive media members as well. You mentioned This Space. I also do a live stream on a channel called This Space.
Oh, yeah.
With a lot of other very small independent media creators. Check that out.
Yeah, that is great. This space is solid. The kind of the brainchild or help being organized by Matt Strackbine, the letter hack, a friend of the show, somebody we've collaborated with before. So thanks for joining me today, Jeff. And for those of you who would like to comment about this, you can comment below in the comment section. All right, this story just broke, so we're going to deal with this and shoehorn it into the regular show. If you are someone who is a little precious about criticism of Democrats, maybe this isn't the video for you. If you are someone who looks the other way at corruption because it's our team, this isn't the video for you. You can go ahead and we'll see you later. Donald Trump just announced the pardon of Henry Cuellar, Texas Democrat. In many ways, a turncoat to the principles of the Democratic Party. He's an anti-abortion ghoul, someone who doesn't believe women should have bodily autonomy over their reproduction. He is a conservative in many, many, many ways. And Donald Trump just offered him a pardon. Truth Social. He says this: for years, the Biden administration weaponized the justice system against their political opponents, a Democrat in this case, of course, and anyone who disagreed with them. One of the clearest examples of this was when Crooked Joe used the FBI and DOJ to take out a member of his own party after highly respected Congressman Henry Cuellar bravely spoke out against open borders and the Biden border catastrophe. Sleepy Joe went after the congressman and even the congressman's wonderful wife, Imelda, simply for speaking the truth. No, it's for bribery and intervening as a foreign agent for a foreign nation. simply for speaking the truth that is un-American, and I previously stated the radical left Democrats are complete and a total threat to democracy. They will attack, rob, lie, cheat, destroy, and decimate anyone who dares to oppose their far left agenda. The far left agenda of Joe Biden. Far left. Joe Biden, again. An agenda that, if left unchecked, will obliterate our magnificent country. Because of these facts and others, I am hereby, it's the others we're going to talk about. I am hereby announcing my full and unconditional pardon, all in caps, of beloved Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar and Imelda. Henry, I don't know you, but you can sleep well tonight. Your nightmare is finally over. Henry Cuellar and his wife were accused, and an indictment was secured, and they were going to trial for, and this is from The Guardian, federal authorities had charged Cuellar, 69, and his wife with accepting thousands of dollars in exchange for the congressman advancing the interests of an Azerbaijan-controlled energy company and a bank in Mexico. Cuellar is accused of agreeing to influence legislation favorable to Azerbaijan and deliver a pro-Azerbaijani speech on the floor of the United States House of Representatives. So where does the criticism for Democrats come in, other than this corrupt, pardon-accepting, guilty Democrat? Well, it comes in the fact that Hakeem Jeffries needs to resign his post as minority leader and prospective Speaker of the House of Representatives when indeed the Democrats gain the majority after the midterms. Because he was just asked about this on CNN, and rather than have a normal, decent response, the same Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, who refused until the very 11th hour to endorse Zoran Mamdani, is now fully behind Henry Cuellar, the corrupt, bribe-accepting Henry Cuellar and his wife. Watch this exchange that just took place on CNN with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown and the esteemed Democratic leader of the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries.
On another issue that just has emerged within the last several minutes, Leader Jeffries, President Trump has announced a pardon of the Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife, who were charged with bribery. What's your response?
Well, Congressman Cuellar is a beloved member of the House of Representatives, loved in his community, particularly in Laredo. I've had the opportunity to spend time with him down in Laredo in South Texas. I look forward to that moving forward. Listen, the reality is this indictment was very thin to begin with, in my view. The charges were eventually going to be dismissed, if not at the trial court level by the Supreme Court, as they've repeatedly done in instances just like this.
So just to follow up on that, do you agree with the president's pardon here? Do you think that was a good thing then?
I don't know why the president decided to do this. I think the outcome was exactly the right outcome.
Well, Congressman Cuellar, we should note, is one of a handful of House Democrats who sits in a district President Trump won in 2024. So now he has this presidential pardon. Have you had any conversations with the congressman about him potentially switching to the Republican Party?
I think Congressman Cuellar is a highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus, and I expect that he'll continue to remain a highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus.
You don't know why Donald Trump pardoned Henry Cuellar? Donald Trump pardoned Henry Cuellar for the same reason that you're acting like a giant ally about what a beloved member of the Democratic caucus he is. Because you're afraid of losing a seat. You will back the play of a corrupt Democrat in order that he not flip and become a Republican. Do we have no soul? Have we no moral compass? No ethical North Star? Because that's what it seems with a Hakeem Jeffries in charge of the Democrats in the House and a Chuck Schumer in charge of Democrats in the Senate. Where have we gone wrong that these are our leaders? We are better than this. to stand on, I think he's a highly, highly valued member of the House Democratic Caucus, and I expect that he'll continue to remain that. Will he? Because we don't need him. We don't need someone to stymie the agenda of progress in this country. We don't need someone who's willing to accept money to enrich himself to represent a foreign country in the House of Representatives, representing a constituency of Americans while acting as an unregistered foreign agent for other countries' interests. But, oh, no, he's wonderful. I can't wait to get back down there and campaign for him in Laredo when you didn't campaign one fucking day for Zoran Mamdani, the future of the Democratic Party. So which element in American politics do you represent, Hakeem Jeffries? Because it certainly isn't progress. It certainly seems to be a regressive turn toward more conservative aspects of the Democratic Party. Because this is who you're full-throatedly endorsing and jumping behind, is Henry Cuellar and his wife, not Zoran. You don't have this much defense of members of the squad, AOC, Ilhan Omar, who are constantly under attack from Republicans. Vile, disgusting, racist attacks, misogynistic attacks. If only you, Hakeem Jeffries, could muster this kind of a defense for them that you just offered for Henry Cuellar. And the reason I know that Donald Trump is absolutely angling to get Henry Cuellar to become a Republican is because there's not a pardon in sight for Bob Menendez, the corrupt Democrat from the Senate, New Jersey senator, disgraced New Jersey senator. The reason is there's no pardon for him is because he can offer nothing to Donald Trump. There is no seat to flip to Republican because he's not in office anymore. But Henry Cuellar absolutely has something very valuable to offer Donald Trump. This is a bribe on the part. Donald Trump's offering him this. We'll see whether it comes to fruition that he switches parties. But my guess would be he does. And then where will you be, Hakeem Jeffries, after having endorsed? Oh, yeah, it was thin. The evidence was thin. Yeah. The Supreme Court, and they always do that. What did he say? The Supreme Court, this is the way they always do in all of these outcomes. Is that what they did? You said, if not at trial, it would have been dismissed. If not at the trial court level by the Supreme Court, as they've repeatedly done in instances just like this. Did they do that with Bob Menendez? No, they did not. Corruption's corruption. We need to rise above. We need to be better than this. We need to be better than Chuck Schumer. We need to be better than Hakeem Jeffries. Resign, sir. Save us all the stress and consternation. Because let me tell you, you're not immune from being primaried. It's exactly what should happen. Someone in Brooklyn, someone in New York City who lives in that district, get out there. We will raise money for you and see fit to boost your campaign. You heard it here first, maybe not here first, but you heard it here. Anyway, what do you think? If you're still here, thank you very much for being passionate about cleaning up the Democratic Party, making us stronger and better and more competitive to beat fascism. Putting in leaders who will stand and fight and not cower before Donald Trump. Comment below this video. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate it very much. I'm going to turn around and get this shoehorned in somewhere in the lineup today.
And he does it, by the way, not just because he hates war and he thinks wars are a waste of money and lives, but because he's the only leader in the world that can.
What's he going to do? Nap them into submission? Oh, I'm going to get you right after this nap. So all of the wild antics of Donald Trump took place mainly at the end of the meeting that we just talked about with the Somali racism, the Donald Trump just reverting back to who he is at his core. Not reverting back, he just highlights it at some points. But at the beginning part of the meeting, Donald Trump opened this same meeting. He opened it referring to Joe Biden as Sleepy Joe, which is just absolute no self-awareness whatsoever. Or he's so used to Republicans worshiping at his feet and telling him that his nakedness is glorious. His new clothes and garments are just beautiful and encrusted with gold and all of the ornamentation that you would expect from a wonderful, dear leader like Trump, right? So he starts the meeting, because he knows it doesn't matter with these ghouls. He starts the meeting talking about all the work he's done, and he's had to reverse all the damage of Sleepy Joe Biden, and then promptly fell asleep for most of the cabinet meeting. We'll start with that, very brief, maybe 20 seconds here.
But we have it almost, we'll soon be at a perfect level, but we inherited the worst inflation. But we have 20 states that are now selling gasoline at less than the $2.75, think of that, $2.75, and it was at $5 under Sleepy Joe. Grocery prices are down with the cost of Thanksgiving turkey this year down 33%. It was lower than 33% lower than under the Biden administration.
Yeah, Sleepy Joe, says the guy who cannot stay awake in meetings. But let me very quickly address, because I don't want some of these lies to just go unchallenged. It's amazing to me that Donald Trump, how many times have we heard him say in just the past few months that gas is now officially under $2 a gallon. And now, apparently months later, it's going to be soon at that level. You don't have it both ways. These numbers he's giving are lies. The numbers before he gave were lies. Just like how the Republican Party deals with Donald Trump and the reality of his declining situation, his declining health, his declining cognition, they don't deal with it with a reality lens. Marco Rubio, this is the beginning of the meeting. Marco Rubio is talking about Donald Trump being the only leader equipped to handle the world's problems, to deal with the world's problems, to solve the myriad problems that face us. The dear leader, he's the only one that can do it. And while he's gesturing to Donald Trump is passed the fuck out, crashed out, desperately trying, but his eyelids are too heavy. He can't do it. He's asleep. The man who's the only one who can do it, asleep on the job, literally.
Everything this president does is driven by the American people. Whether you don't have to agree with the actual move, but understand the motivation. The motivation is always you, the American people, and what's good for you, for your family, for the country, and for our economy. But the president is also committed to peace in a way that all of us have seen. He achieved in Gaza, and he does it, by the way, not just because he hates war and he thinks wars are a waste of money and lives, but because he's the only leader in the world that can. No other leader in the world could have pulled off what happened in Gaza. And I can tell you, I can't get into the details. The vice president knows what I'm talking about. That deal doesn't happen without the president's direct interaction with the leaders that were involved in this decision making. And everyone said that deal couldn't hold. And then the president shepherded through the United Nations of all places to get a global coalition of countries to line up behind the peace deal, behind the border peace. And it's still, every day is a challenge, but it's been driven personally by the president. It's the reason why we're involved in this whole Ukraine-Russia conflict. That's not our war. It's not the president's war. This war started, it never would have happened if you'd been president. But this war is going on, and the president is trying to end it, not because, listen, we got a million things to focus on in the world as a country, but he's the only leader in the world that can help end it.
But he's the only leader who is capable of ending it? What's he going to do? Nap them into submission? Oh, I'm going to get you right after this nap. Come on. And this wasn't the only moment where Donald Trump was asleep at the wheel, asleep on the job, Again, literally. There was a moment, and I'm going to show you two angles of the exact same set of seconds. We'll put it side by side. One is the White House feed, where you won't see Donald Trump crashed out. Whoever's operating the camera realizes, oh shit, this isn't good optics. We can't have Donald Trump completely passed out. We can't have the addled, demented lunatic asleep while his cabinet is heaping praise and worship upon him. That doesn't look right. And then the other one is another angle from a different camera that shows him just uninvolved, not being a leader, not listening and taking part in the cabinet meeting that its sole purpose is to prop him up as a wonderful, decent man who is here to serve the American people, like Marco Rubio talked about. That's his only concern, is caring about America and the people, while he's sleeping because he's an 80-year-old demented lunatic. Watch these two angles.
I can say, sir, that we are moving to return education to the states and to bring the level of education back up, making sure our students can read by reintroducing the science of reading in schools. And going into next year,
Yeah, they're really trying their best. I mean, look, sometimes you just can't. When Marco Rubio sitting right next to Donald Trump, you can't get so tight on Marco Rubio, just his mouth or something, to not show Donald Trump crashed out. But, you know, when Linda McMahon's down the way a little bit, she's seated 5, 6, 7 seats away, it's a little easier to frame the shot, right? So let's finish with this, though. And this doesn't really have anything to do with Donald Trump sleeping, but it does have to do with them heaping praise and being just a weird, obsequious, ass-licking bootlickers, just lapdogs. It's so weird and gross and it's just antithetical. And maybe this is it. Maybe for some normal people, this is how it's like, I could see myself kissing my boss's ass. I've never been that guy. That's why this job is suited so well for me, because I don't answer to anybody but you guys. I guess having 1.23 million bosses is different than just having one asshole to answer to. But I don't have it in me to do the things that these people do to debase themselves, these dignity-free actors. Kristi Noem being among them. Now, people are going to say, oh, she's making a joke when she says that Donald Trump chased away the hurricanes. But I don't know that it is, because then she launches into lies about Donald Trump's destruction of the American government and our emergency measures that have been put in place that for decades, like FEMA. And she ties it into her weird remark about Donald Trump not having hurricanes this year and him being responsible for the weather, I guess. Watch Kristi Noem really go to town on Donald Trump.
We've got within the department, TSA went through this government shutdown without any delays. They all showed up for their shifts and worked hard doing security, and they have been absolutely fantastic. Sir, you made it through hurricane season without a hurricane. Yeah. And so FEMA, you kept the hurricanes away. So we appreciate that. And FEMA is deploying resources and dollars 150% faster than ever before. So somebody does have something bad that happens to them, you are immediately there helping them and telling them they have the resources to get back up on their feet.
All right. There's more here. There's more here than I thought. The TSA, and there were no delays during the government shutdown when hundreds and hundreds of flights had to be canceled in order that the delays were not as bad as they could be, as bad as they would have been. There were absolutely delays during the government shutdown, sister. You know that. You know that, but you're a liar. You're in charge of the TSA. You know what was going on. It's just remarkable to me. And then making it through the hurricane season without Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, thank you. We really appreciate that, sir. And then going on to talk about FEMA. We're delivering money 150% faster, whatever number of nonsense she said. Donald Trump has stated he doesn't want FEMA to exist. He doesn't want the federal government to be responsible for helping states in their moments of need. They extract taxes from the states, and when those states need help, he doesn't want to pay. Not even red states he wants to pay, but certainly not blue states. So all of this is just, and so the American people know that you're going to be there to help them when they have a blah, 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 blah. Come on. This is not. First of all, this entire endeavor of these cabinet meetings is embarrassing for Americans, or at least it should be. For them to sit around and in this weird North Korean dictator nonsense way, just prop up the dear leader, prop up the cult leader as though he's some kind of a magic semi-deity, a demigod, a Herculean figure in American history. Come on. It's weird and gross. All of it, I believe, is because they know he is sundowning. Soon he will be an ethereal spirit floating off to wherever his end destination is. I don't believe in any of that, but if I did, I don't think he'd be making it. He doesn't even think he'd be making it to heaven. He said that many times. Anyway, now I'm rambling. I am done. I love and appreciate you very much. I'd love your participation in this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below this video.
You see the clanging, the banging, and when it's completed, it'll be one of the greatest ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's going to be amazing.
You know, on some days, it's just impossible to talk about anything other than, or it's difficult to talk about anything other than Donald Trump's declining state, his physical decline, but also his cognitive decline. And this isn't about him falling asleep. And, you know, some of this can be just chalked up to old man shit, which is a problem in and of itself when you have a leader, a president who has a very important job to do, and he is incapable of staying awake. That's a problem, right? But it's also a problem when you have a president who can't functionally navigate very simple questions, very plainly worded questions. And what he does in the face of those questions, rather than answer, is to default to the thing that he's obsessed with at the moment and then ramble about that because that's a comfort zone for him. You see this. I hear, again, not a medical professional, but you hear about this when people talk about their grandparents or parents who have Alzheimer's, who are in a memory deficit, who have cognition issues, who have dementia issues, right? So people will regress. They'll go back to childhood, and people will wander out of their nursing home or their home and try to find their childhood home. This is what Donald Trump has done, except he's not going back all the way to childhood. He's going to the thing that he's most focused on in the moment. And that's the ballroom, the monstrosity, the $350 million, 1,000-seat, gold-encrusted nonsense that he is obsessed with. He has literally demolished part of the White House in order to erect this bullshit that nobody needs in a time when income inequality is at its peak. It's another gilded age, and Donald Trump is here as the tip of the spear. So Jasmine Wright, who is a reporter for Notice, she's had run-ins with Donald Trump before where he's abused her. No shock that Donald Trump takes his ire out chiefly on women. And if you're a black woman, it's just a bonus for him to be an asshole. And she asked him a question about the funding of this Trump accounts for children that he's in the middle of a press conference talking about. And she asked him about how many other wealthy friends and which other wealthy friends are going to be contributing to the Trump accounts. Again, the thing he's promoting in the press conference that you're getting ready to witness. And instead of answering the question, he doesn't understand the question. He gets lost and starts talking about the ballroom, about arches, about anything other than what the reporter wanted to know.
Mr. President, you said that you have been talking to your wealthy friends, as well as you, Mr. Dell, about contributing. Can you walk us through maybe who you've been talking to and how much more we can expect on top of
I think the people you probably would think I would be talking to. There's a group of people out there that have been very successful, and we've already started talking to them. You know, we're doing ballrooms, we're doing ARCs, we have a thing that's being planned that's going to be a great tribute to the country, as you know. You probably heard about it. The ARC that we're looking at by the bridge near Arlington. there's going to be something. We're doing some other things for Washington itself and for the country itself. But a lot of the people that have, gone in and done a real job with that. The ballroom, I think Michael and Susan, the next time we meet, well, I think hopefully we'll meet before then, but we're going to have a big event over in the ballroom to celebrate this. We're building a ballroom that they've wanted at this beautiful White House for 150 years. They've wanted it so badly. Right now we can hold 109 people if you're lucky in a room. It's a beautiful room, but it's 109 people, and we're building something. You see the trucks in the back. You see the clanging, the banging, and when it's completed, it'll be one of the greatest ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's going to be amazing. So people that were involved in that process, I have a lot of friends with a lot of success, and every one of them, I would be shocked if anyone turns us down. We're going to have a lot of big contributors, Jeff.
We're doing arcs, like the Ark of the Covenant, like Noah's Ark, or are you doing an arch? Donald Trump. And also, I should have mentioned this before, but maybe you can go back. That might even help the algorithm. Who even knows? We'll go back and watch the beginning of it and watch Ted Cruz and watch little Mike Johnson. It is a remarkable thing for me that you're witnessing a United States senator, someone who's a senior member of the Republican Party, been around for years and years in the Senate, elected to office, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. If J.D. Vance dies, if Donald Trump dies and J.D. Vance dies at the same time, it's Mike Johnson's the President of the United States. That's how close he is to the office of the presidency. And he's just an obsequious little ass lick. He and Ted Cruz. Just so funny. They look at Donald Trump with adulation, with love, with affection in their eyes as he's just veering off out of control. It's remarkable. It's dangerous because when you are president of the United States, you need accurate counsel, people who are unafraid to look you in the eyes and tell you the truth, give you their earnest perspective on the way things should be. This is what counselors do. This is what assistants and aides do. Strategists and consultants, they're there to give an unvarnished opinion no matter how negatively it might be taken. But these people, they're so obsequious. They yearn to have their nose just surgically connected to Donald Trump's asshole that they don't mind that the rest of us look at them with derision, with embarrassment, just by proxy, just from a distance. This is something I will never understand. Look, I was a Republican decades and decades ago as a young man. So maybe that's what it is, that I have a memory of the Republican Party maybe being something differently because at that time I felt differently about it. I don't exactly know, but this is not what I would have signed up for. But they're stepping in line, and look, there's a lot of people who ask a lot of questions about getting to the bottom of it. I don't know it's because of personal enrichment and they don't care how much they shame themselves. They don't care about how much dignity they lose. They don't care about any of this. As long as they're making money hand over fist, millions and millions of dollars, as long as they're adjacent to power, I don't know. I know that's not the point of the video. It's not the point of the topic. It's not the point, but help me out. Let's end it there. You help me out, and I don't know how much I can help you out. I don't have the answers on this one. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. If it's on Facebook, make sure you have liked and followed the Facebook page. Comment below. Engage with the content. We are absolutely slaves to the algorithms. All of us, if you're on any social media platform at all, you are controlled by, you are manipulated by the algorithm. So do your part to make that manipulation more of a positive thing where people can get the truth delivered to them through the browse feature or whatever. Like, follow, comment, share, all those things go a long way. And on YouTube too. Make sure you're subscribed and you engage with the video. She even starts the question by saying, if this had been something that had been happening during the Joe Biden administration, I'd probably be right here hitting them on television. I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say that I think Fox News hates KASH Patel. Maybe that should be the title of the video. And the reason I say this is because, listen, I think you're naive. Someone is naive, not you, but, the royal you. Those who give Fox News fairness and charity and the benefit of the doubt that they're not working behind the scenes to accomplish the agenda that is in the heart of the Murdochs. I think those people would be naive. That's absolutely what's taking place. And for whatever reason, I think they're getting ready to pull the plug, pull the ripcord in their descent. I'm really struggling with my metaphor here. They're getting ready to pull the trigger. Let's start there. Let's do that. Let's do a trigger metaphor. They're going to pull the trigger on this and really start going hard against KASH Patel, because really there's no other way to deal with all of the controversy and the scandal that he is bringing as a distraction to the Trump administration. And some of the goals of the agenda cannot be accomplished when there isn't someone who is distracting from those things getting done, because everything gets focused on defending, everything gets focused on what is taking place there, investigations, possible impeachments, and Fox News doesn't want that. Of course, drama does drive clicks, and that does help. But I think we're seeing this take place. And this is why. Laura Ingraham had KASH Patel on last night and asked a series of questions that usually are intended to just give the person the opportunity to defend themselves and to give their narrative. But this went a little farther than that. This was really Laura Ingraham dressing him down. I think that's the phrase, where she's talking about the Epstein files. And look, all of my listeners, we are joining one with another to come against you to ask this question. What, did you just make a mistake? Was it just an unforced error? What's going on? And that's pretty much how they led.
Mr. Director, our viewers also are they're chomping at the bit on why it took the Epstein files so long to be released. Any regrets there? Was that an unforced error? Should we have gotten them out earlier? Just get them all out there? Just thought I'd give you a chance to react to that.
Yeah, look, this FBI has produced 40,000 pages of documents to Congress. To put that in comparison, Wray put out 13,000 in 7 years, and Comey put out 3,000. We're committed to transparency. We're putting out as much as we can that is lawful and that is not prohibited by court orders. And those are the things the DOJ is fighting still with judges in court to make sure we can reveal everything without breaking the law. And that's what we're committed to doing. We're doing it as fast as we can, and we're going to keep doing it, not just on this, but you know about Arctic Frost because of this FBI's discovery of the illegal surveillance of senators and staffers. You know about Russiagate because of mine and Devin's work from back in day. And we're going to continue those investigations. And you bet we have ongoing criminal investigations on both those fronts, because the guy who launched Russiagate, me as a senior staffer back in House Intel, is now the director of the FBI. And I'm not going to end this mission without destroying and leveling the full weaponization that occurred before I got here.
So the reason that I think that this is throwing him under the bus is you would think they would want this story to go away. You would think that they wouldn't want the Epstein files thing to persist because it only damages Donald Trump. It's only rounds down range with Donald Trump being a target. And by extension, KASH Patel, because he was the one who banged that Epstein drum so hard and so long for so many years. And now he's in a position to actually release the files. And he just actually gave you the strategy of how they're going to get out of it when he said, we are putting out as much as we can that is lawful and not prohibited by the courts. Rather than just release all the files like Congress just passed and Donald Trump signed, now you're saying, well, only what the law allows or what court orders, blah, 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 blah. Much to the chagrin of Laura Ingraham, who is more of a servant to her audience than she is KASH Patel. The other thing that they got into, and she said some things here that are very reminiscent of somebody who's getting ready to pull the plug, pull the cord, pull the trigger on turning against KASH Patel. And that is about his use of jets. Now, she's given him an opportunity to make excuses, but she even starts the question by saying, if this had been something that had been happening during the Joe Biden administration, I'd probably be right here hitting them on television. And then he gets his opportunity after she sets the stage that what he's doing is wrong. He gets to answer. Watch this.
And the Democrats are also, Mr. Director, supposedly going to investigate your use of the FBI jet, because they're claiming you've commandeered it for personal joyrides, going to a wrestling event, I guess, for your girlfriend. Is that true? And if so, if the Biden team did something like that, if it was true, I'd probably be hitting them tonight on television. But I thought I'd give you a chance to respond to that drive-by.
Yeah. It's simple. The FBI director, all FBI directors are required users of the FBI plane. They don't let me fly commercially. But my predecessors wasted millions of dollars because they were too lazy to drive an extra 20 minutes and go to Andrews Air Force Base. They used D.C. Reagan National as their personal hub, costing the taxpayer $4 million. I shut that policy off and mandated the use of government airfields. I've also used the airplane less than my prior two predecessors. And yes, I'm entitled to a personal life just like my other agency had counterparts with their partners. So do I support my girlfriend? Absolutely. And do I take trips with her? Absolutely. But when they're talking about raid jackets and Velcro and FBI plane use, they are not talking about the facts, because they know this FBI is succeeding in ways prior leadership failed. And those cronies will always stick together and, of course, band together with their enemies to come in and attack us. And our mission here is to protect the American people. Let me tell you one more stat that the American people are going to love. This FBI is on course to deliver the lowest murder rate in modern history by double digits. The lowest murder rate in modern history by double digits. That's because we're out there in cities like Memphis leading the charge, in places like St. Louis and Miami and New York and elsewhere across the country, delivering the mission first mindset and putting agents in power in the field to make these arrests. You cannot have these results if you focus on what the media wants to write about you or what the Democrats want to investigate. I am the only FBI director to turn over information related to travel, and that information shows one thing. I am a steward of the taxpayer dollars. My predecessors weren't. They couldn't drive 20 extra minutes on every trip. I'll drive an extra hour if it saves the taxpayer an extra few bucks.
Eric Swalwell has zero credibility on anything given his past.
You see, none of this is a distraction. When they talk about him wanting a certain jacket to fit a little tighter to make him seem more manly when he's like 5'2", that's not a distraction. That points to where your focus is. What you are endeavoring to do at the FBI, that it's about you. It's about how many private jet trips you can take to concerts or wrestling matches with your girlfriend, and then leave the concert at Penn State, for instance, and fly then with your girlfriend to her home in Nashville on the private jet. I mean, they've talked about deep state corruption for so many years. This is the deep state corruption. And I think this might be the opening salvo. We'll see. It'll start taking place over the course of the next few weeks or even the next couple months. But I think this might be that opening salvo, that opening of the gates, the pulling of the trigger of Fox News turning against KASH Patel. And listen, if right-wing media turns against KASH Patel, he is not long for this world relative to his position at the FBI. Donald Trump will absolutely cut bait if the tide turns against him. And it's going to take Fox News and Newsmax and all of the wild conspiracy theory television programming that Donald Trump is so wont to watch all the time. It will convince him, because he is a rube. And the last person who talked to him is the one who his opinion is based on. So we'll see. We'll mark this as a prediction. and watch closely over the course of the next few weeks to see if I'm correct. What do you think? Do you disagree or agree? You can comment in the comment section below. In the same meeting, in the same set of just a few minutes, Donald Trump says it's a scam and a hoax perpetrated by the Democrats, and his own cabinet, people with intimate knowledge of the matter, say, no, affordability. Well, if we want affordability, we don't want to put more money in people's pockets. So let's end on this today. This little quick one, right? Yesterday, Donald Trump held his cabinet meeting where they go around the horn and they kiss his ass, and they're just heaping obsequious praise on him like the sycophantic lapdogs that they are. It really is the bootlick party, the Republican Party. It's nightmarish. But Donald Trump has long been trying to change the narrative about affordability. He's been saying, actually, it's all solved. Affordability is fine. There is no affordability crisis. Prices are way, way down for everyone. What you're feeling in your bank account and in your pocketbook when you go to the grocery store isn't actually happening. What's actually happening is you can afford everything because prices are low again. I have solved the affordability crisis. It's over. The problem is his cabinet didn't get the memo, apparently, because after all the clip, I put a little mashup together. It took me way too long. I'm not very talented at these things. And I put together this mashup of all the times Donald Trump talked about the affordability crisis, because his new narrative is that talking about affordability is a scam and a hoax from the Democratic Party. Anything that Donald Trump is guilty of that he wants to deflect away from, he calls a scam or a hoax. The perfect phone call where he tried to extort Volodymyr Zelensky in the first administration, his first impeachment, was a scam and a hoax, right? The next thing we're going to be waiting for him to say is that the affordability thing is a witch hunt. I mean, really, that's probably it. But the problem is, I'm going to play the clip. I know I'm rambling here. The problem is that I don't think his cabinet is on the same page, certainly. They didn't have a pregame where they had a little huddle and like, okay, here's the narrative, folks. Because Donald Trump rambled on several moments where he talked about it being a scam and a hoax. And then his cabinet was talking about the affordability crisis that Donald Trump apparently thinks in the same meeting is a scam and a hoax. First, here's the little mashup of Donald Trump talking about how the Democrats are responsible for the scam and the hoax that you're actually feeling in your bank account.
I mean, these are the facts we have to get out. And, you know, there's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. The word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. The word affordability is a Democrat scam.
They talked about it's about.
I think they're getting fake news from guys like you. Look, affordability is a hoax that was started by Democrats. But when they always say, I watched today where they have a race going on right now in Tennessee, and this woman goes, affordability. But they're like scam artists, you know, I call them con men and women. They come out, they say affordability, like, I see prices.
I call them con men and women. Did you hear that, by the way? That little ditty there, where he's like a very low IQ congresswoman. He put all the stank on woman in congresswoman. Tell me he's not a misogynist piece of shit. Come on. Make it make sense that anybody would try to put Donald Trump forward as anything other than what he is. But these are the facts we need to get out. He said that multiple times in this particular cabinet meeting about affordability. These are the facts that we need to get out. This is the narrative. This is the propaganda. These are the lies that we all need to run with. And apparently, problematically for Donald Trump, the rest of his cabinet didn't get the message because Scott Turner, his HUD secretary, talked about affordability. Brooke Rollins, the agriculture secretary, she talked about affordability. Scott Bessent, the treasury secretary, used the words affordability crisis, and so did J.D. Vance. They didn't get the memo, apparently.
So you talked about affordability. HUD has supported over 1 million Americans in home ownership and affordability, and over 560,000 are first-time home buyers.
We talked a lot about affordability. We'll continue to talk about that.
So the best way to address the affordability crisis is to give Americans more money in their pockets.
If you look at every affordability crisis that's confronting the American people today.
So which is it? In the same meeting, in the same set of just a few minutes, Donald Trump says it's a scam and a hoax perpetrated by the Democrats, and his own cabinet, people with intimate knowledge of the matter, say, no, affordability. Well, if we want affordability, we don't want to put more money in people's pockets. If there's no affordability crisis because it's a scam and a hoax, why is your cabinet so on point, laser focused on what your voters are actually dealing with? I guess the question would be, is this by design? Because we know they're liars. We know that J.D. Vance is a liar, that Scott Bessent is a liar, that Brooke Rollins is an ass-kissing liar, that Scott Turner is, he's an evangelical pastor. We know he's a liar. But is it because they can't lie as well as Donald Trump? They can't do it with the straight face? Or, and I don't know, I really don't know. There's definitely two options here. Or is it some kind of a measure that they want both narratives to be spoken by the administration, so when Caroline Leavitt gets asked about it, she can deflect from Donald Trump's nonsense and focus in on the things the cabinet says, or vice versa, ignore the things the cabinet has said and focus only in on Donald Trump talking about how it's a scam and a hoax? I don't know. But with the very advanced propaganda operation that Donald Trump runs, that his staffers are dedicated to, that he has people who are paid handsomely, six-figure salaries to come up with, to craft the lies that become the narrative of the administration. And usually it's just to kind of back Donald Trump's play that he comes up with in the moment and starts rambling. So we are led by a communication team that just tries to, after the fact, it's like an ex post facto, making up the rules as they go, making up the excuses as they go to back Donald Trump's dementia. Ultimately, it is the dementia administration, and we are witnessing and feeling the impacts of the dementia administration. What do you think? We're going to end it there. I appreciate your joining me today, your engagement on this video. I talked a little bit about the algorithm today. I just want to double down on that and say engagement is what helps everything. If you like the video, it signals to YouTube that this is content other people like you. That's how the algorithm works. It's like this person sets all of it, like you have a profile. It's kind of loose. I mean, I don't really understand the thing. This is how I understand it. You have a profile. And when your profile, you click on this, your profile, they match it against other people who have a similar profile than you. Am I going too much? Is this too much? Anyway. And so it will share this video if you like it and comment on it and share it. Obviously, if you share it. But if you're subscribed to all of those things and you watch it for a while, it tells YouTube, oh, this person is like this. We're going to share this video with other people who are like that person. That's how it works. So if a wide swath of individuals with different likes and different interests who watch different kinds of videos, if they all engage, it very much helps. Absolutely, it does. And I would appreciate it very much. You could do the same thing, works on Facebook. I would appreciate it. Comment below. That helps the algorithm. And you can call and leave a voicemail on the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. If you want to take that support to the next level, become a channel member on YouTube, click the join button, become a channel, $2 a month, or patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I love and appreciate you for your patriotism, your engagement with my content, your concern for making the world a better place. We're going to win this. It might take longer than we'd like, but we are going to win. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.